On this next episode of Outlook TV, Mr. and Ms. Cobalt All-Stars.
POZ Awards in Toronto.
Storytelling for adults by drag queens. And much, much more. Hello and welcome to Outlook TV. I'm Rebecca Wyman.
And I'm Robert Mackay, and you're watching the Queer Magazine news show that brings you the stories that matter the most from coast to coast.
We're going to kick it off in Vancouver at the Cobalt.
For Mr. and Miss Cobalt All-Stars.
Woo!
Hi everybody, it's a Wednesday night and we're here at the Cobalt for the first night of Mr. and Miss Cobalt All-Stars. Let's check it out.
Cobalt is a competition we've been running for 6 years because we've been developing, for about a decade now, we've been developing the sort of the drag community here in East Van. We're not the only queer event that took place for many years here at the Cobalt, but we stepped up and started this competition to give East Van queens a platform to do what they do best in their own backyard, rather than feeling that they have to go to the West End. Over the past 6 years, we've had, in total, we've had probably about 60 or 70 people compete, which means there's a lot of people who gave it their all but didn't win the first prize, but they're amazing performers, and we wanted to give them the opportunity to come back. So here we are with All-Stars. All of these performers tonight came in second or third place in the past year.
I'm thirsty.
This is All-Stars, so they've all been here already once before. They're All-Stars in my humble opinion, but we're gonna be harder on them this time. Like, it's not just enough to be a regular performer, this is the next level up. So they really need to actually wow us, they need to blow us away, they need to show us something that they've never shown before. Not only in the last competition, because I'm like an elephant, dear, I never forget. High artistry around fashion, around face, but more than that, more than just the look, the two-dimensionality of it, they need to engage with their audience, they need to connect to us, they need to make us feel, they need to make us laugh, they need to make us cry, and they need to make us think.
If somebody out there is thinking of starting out drag, what is your tip to them?
Go to your local drag shows for one. Local drag shows, a lot of people are watching RuPaul's Drag Race and falling in love with that, but not going to local shows. Local shows is where you learn everything. Local shows is where you learn how it works, how to get into it, how to do things, how to impress people. Because on RuPaul's, you don't even, they barely perform until they're being eliminated. So I would say go to your local drag shows is the number one.
ZZ Theater is a local charity, a nonprofit theater company celebrating its 10th season. It was founded by my husband/wife, the Queen of East Van, Isolde and Barron. Every single event I've ever thrown at the Cobalt, all of the proceeds have gone to ZZ Theater. So people come here, they have a great party, they drink some drinks, and they help make art happen in the city.
Well, I think the right expression is, that night just gave me life. Ha! This is Emmanuel VME Horror for Outlook TV.
Have you ever looked for a sign?
Many in my life.
Well, there's a great big neon heart now.
Is it
on Davie.
Oh, it's the heart of the Davie Village, and it's big, it's bright, and it's queer.
The new iconic Heart of Davie Village sign has caught a lot of people's attention since it debuted this past season at the Lumiere Festival. Today we're going to go behind the scenes to talk to some people who made it all happen.
The Lumiere Festival is something that the West End BIA and other partners, including Pride and others, we've taken a decorative lighting concept that was quite innovative and big in our imagination, a 20-year vision, and we connected it to an event strategy, and out of that birthed this concept of Lumiere with some help in the tourism industry, and it's led to a great piece of public art that is the Heart of Davie Village.
The Heart of Davie Village sign was one of 5 art projects that I curated for Lumiere Festival Vancouver in 2017, December. And this piece is particularly important to the festival because it is the project that we propose to be a legacy project. It's sort of a piece that is really important because it speaks to the place, and as a curator I felt very strongly that the art pieces should reflect the composition of the neighborhood.
The theme of the festival was art, community, and light, so I submitted an application for the Davie Village sign, which I thought perfectly exemplified this criteria.
What was your inspiration for the design and everything?
In many cities around the world, there are distinct gay villages. These neighborhoods have increased the visibility and awareness of the gay LGBTQ2 plus community, and I thought this sign would highlight the significant contributions of these communities towards advancements of human rights around the world. The initial concept started with a basic sketch, and from there I connected with some local fabricators and vintage sign painters, and we developed this idea where it would be a 4 foot by 4 foot or 1.5 meter by 1.5 meter painted sign cabinet, and from there there'd be illuminated protrusions that would highlight Davie and Village, and then it's surrounded by a pink neon heart. The point of this project is that it looks a bit somewhat nostalgic and a bit vintage and has the air that it could have been there for many years. But the neat part about it, neon, is that it imparts the ability to kind of create new meanings for people and kind of cement a time and a place for them.
A petition is now circulating to see if we can turn this piece of temporary art into a permanent artistic structure. We're very interested in that. We know that there's some opportunities coming our way. We'd like to see this as a gateway piece. So we think a permanent opportunity is on the horizon, but it will require some additional funding and the city's support.
Well, there you have it. It really does take a village to raise a sign. If you want to find out more about the petition, go to change.org. For Outlook TV, this is Angus Pratt in Davie Village in Vancouver.
We're going to have to take a little break now.
Rebecca and my outfits aren't nearly coordinated enough. To the dressing room.
Like how?
You know, I could plaid it up a little.
Welcome back. You're watching Outlook TV.
Up next, we have stories, and they aren't just for kids. This is storytelling for adults.
Drag queens.
Ooh.
What's up, Canada? Thank you for watching another edition of Outlook TV. Today we're here at Café du Soleil in Vancouver for two of my favorite things, drag queens and literature.
Harry bit his lip, watching the Adonis peer up at him, his gray eyes gleaming silver in the moonlight.
I saw the event first posted online. They were talking about it being held at the Brooklyn Public Library in New York, and then I realized that it also happened in San Francisco, and I was like, that's awesome, that's where it got its start. And then I pitched the idea to a drag queen friend of mine named Olive. The one that they were doing down in San Francisco started with kids, and I thought, well, we should try something different. So when I talked to Olive, I said, hey, let's try something different than what they're doing down in San Francisco.
The prince climbed up, and instead of finding his dearest Rapunzel on top, he found the sorceress, who gave him vicious and angry looks.
The more people who can hear something new being read to them, it takes them back to a time that predates now when a lot of people don't get read to. And I think as well that it shows them that there are no two drag queens the same. No matter how many are in your show, there's always going to be so much difference between them. It's really easy to stand on a microphone in a bar and swear your head off at people. It's a whole other thing when you are in a room and you're reading something and you're trying to convey an imagery. Carmela Barr, who did the first one with us, said afterwards, she said, I learned so much about myself reading tonight, about how I present myself reading. It was such a learning experience, and I love that.
Would you like to tell me what's going on here, young man? I sat up and said, that dog is dead.
I actually haven't spoken on a mic in a year and a half since I started. So tonight will be my first time actually talking, because normally in like everyday life I just use my body, but it's also good to find a voice. So it's going to be different, and it's going to be a different look on drag for me.
The International Center of Arts and Technology is a very small space, a small maker space, but it's a space with a lot of heart and a lot of hopes and ambitions for the future, in the sense that we want to create a more diverse literary scene in Vancouver. And one of the main events that we do is we hold the storytelling for drag queens with kids and adults.
Spit it out, Potter, or are you just that happy to see me? The blonde smirked, watching him closely.
Reading can bring a lot of different
amazing things to kids and adults in different ways. I definitely felt that push to educate in terms of reading to kids. I think doing this kind of event, I think for me, how I see it as being beneficial to society is like me just being in it, like being in like a mainstream space such as like Commercial Drive right now.
And from Café du Soleil in Vancouver, my name is Lyra Wan and you're watching Outlook TV.
Let's head on off to Toronto now.
Grammys aren't the only things that are handing out awards. It's the POZ Awards coming up.
Good evening, everyone. We're here tonight at the annual POZ Awards at Stryker Sports Bar. I'm lucky enough to be one of the award recipients, and we're going to go inside and talk to some of the other nominees and see what makes them special. We're here tonight with Jade Electra, the founder and host for the last 5 years. Do you want to tell us a little bit about why you started this?
Well, actually, believe it or not, POZ started, my husband took me to an Out in POZ meeting, and it was ran by someone, I can't remember what the guy's name, I want to say his name was Patrick Chevillet. I cannot remember how to pronounce it, but I'm an American, so I butcher French names all the time. But I didn't find it to be very out and positive. It's very important that we are out about our statuses. That way people have informed choices. And so then that will also shift the focus and how disclosure laws are exercised and written.
And it's so important to actually have those laws re-looked at.
Yes, definitely, because of, our world is changing and those laws need to change as well.
We need spaces. We need places where people can meet and not have to worry about the stigma. Just come, make friends, relax, hook up, find somebody, whatever. But we need spaces where we feel welcomed and we don't feel like it's a problem because we're HIV positive or whatever.
Where can people find out more information about the POZ Awards as well as about Jade Electra?
Okay, well, you can look on Facebook. We have a couple of Facebook groups. There's POZ Planet, and that's a really great group. It has people from all over the world in it, and people, they meet, they ask questions. We do, some counseling. We actually have a doctor that's part of the team, so if you have any medical questions, you can ask. And also you can look up POZ with DJ Relentless. So those are two different groups, but you can find us there. Or you could just find Jade Electra, or you could find DJ Relentless.
We're here at Stryker with the Regent Empress 31, Morgan James, the effervescent.
Oh, effervescent. You've been reading my biography, I can tell.
I have entirely. And from the woman who's coined the term unity in community, I cannot say I'm more pleased to see you here tonight as a recipient of the POZ Awards.
I'm very, very honored to be here. I was very surprised when I got the email saying that I had been one of 10 selected this year. POZ Awards are very important to our community here, and I think some of the work that some of the other nominees have done throughout the year is absolutely fantastic, and I feel very humbled to be included in that group of individuals. It's a wonderful group of people.
I just want to say that I'm just humbled to receive this award tonight. My personal activism road started as that punky little kid with a penny jar for Casey House at the bars, and it's wound up here. And it's been one hell of a wonderful ride with wonderful people, and I hope we made things just a little bit better for everybody.
Well, thank you so much for all the work that you do, and that is the reason that we do these awards, is to actually highlight and just say thank you for the work that you do, because if we don't support and recognize our own, who will?
And we got a piece of good news. BC has approved PrEP.
And we've got the interview with the Davie Buyers Club. Here, we got the scoop.
BC has just become the first province in Canada to cover PrEP drugs for free. Today, we talk with Alex Smith, the founder of the Davie Buyers Club, who helped PrEP users obtain low-cost generic versions. Good afternoon, Alex.
Hi there.
What do you think about the BC government just approving to cover PrEP?
I'm very pleased with the province's announcement to cover pre-exposure prophylaxis, or PrEP, for free for British Columbians at risk of HIV. It's a very exciting tool to have in the toolbox of HIV prevention.
Who can access PrEP from the government?
Currently, people who are eligible for PrEP from the drug treatment program are men who have sex with men who have a high risk of contracting HIV. So those include those who have an HIV positive partner who is not taking medication and has a detectable HIV viral load. Those who have been diagnosed with syphilis or a rectal bacterial sexually transmitted infection. Those who have accessed post-exposure prophylaxis on multiple occasions. And those who have a what's called a HERE score of greater than 10. So that stands for the HIV Incidence Risk Index, and it's a evidence-based tool that lets clinicians quickly and accurately evaluate a person's HIV risk. Transgender women who have sex with men and have an HIV positive partner who is not on medication are eligible for the no-cost PrEP program, as are people who inject drugs and have a drug-using partner who has untreated HIV.
How does a person of high risk access PrEP from the BC government?
The first step is to get a family doctor if one doesn't have one already, and there are a number of resources that can help a person with that, including the BC College of Physicians and Surgeons website, which provides a tool to connect people with a family doctor in their neighborhood. And once one has a primary care provider or a family doctor, the next step is to go in and talk to your provider about your interest in PrEP, about your sexual health history, your general health history. Your doctor will ask you a series of questions and conduct the HERE index that we've talked about. They will order some blood work that will look for HIV to make sure that a person doesn't already have HIV before starting PrEP. They'll look for other sexually transmitted infections, and they want to make sure that a person's kidneys are healthy before starting PrEP. The person's family doctor, if the person meets the criteria and is a good candidate for PrEP, and if it would be safe to do so, the family doctor will fill out this form here, which is the enrollment and prescription request that the doctor will fax to the BC Centre for Excellence Drug Treatment Program. That is reviewed by the team there and is dispensed for clients in the Vancouver area from St. Paul's Hospital's ambulatory pharmacy. For patients elsewhere in the province, the medication is shipped from that central pharmacy to the patient's primary care provider's office in the community.
What's next for you and the Davie Buyers Club?
I've seen my job as to help people access PrEP through whatever means necessary, whether it be through unofficial channels like the cross-border method, or through now official channels like the Centre for Excellence Drug Treatment Program. So people can continue to go to daviebuyerclub.com to find up-to-date, accurate information about how to navigate all these processes.
Thank you, Alex, for the information, and back to you, Robert and Rebecca.
We're going to have to take another little break now.
And this will be the last one, we promise you.
Welcome back. You're watching Outlook TV.
In this next segment, the Q Hall of Fame reacts to the recent government apology.
Gay men and women were still jailed in Europe after the war, the last being released in 1969. You see, it was still illegal to be gay in most of Europe and the rest of the world. And the Allies would not justify releasing homosexuals from the camps at the end of the war.
Ted was actually one of the first people that we ever inducted into the Hall of Fame. He taught me a lot about the history of the community and why that history is so important in Canada, and why I think we need to do a better job recognizing our history. You know, he dedicated his entire life. So if you think about from the 1950s all the way up to when he passed away in 2014, he dedicated his entire life to our community.
For gay men and women, we were labeled as mentally ill. non-human. We were subject to a hospitalization, shock treatment, and even worse, a lobotomy. Thank God they never made me yet, because I was still running at that time. But both of them often left the patient as a vegetable. If we were lucky enough to escape the mental hospital, we were thrown in jail. Families disowned their children, and whole communities would turn against gay men and women.
The first actual protest that he ever did was on August 18th, 1958, and he stood on the steps of the Vancouver courthouse. It was the first time he wore a dress. There was him and 4 others, and they protested for gay rights.
I can remember standing on the step of the courthouse protesting for equality and watching as the world silently walked by. I never had a voice, and if I was ever going to make a difference, I needed to have that voice. We also started protesting in small ways with writing letter campaigns, working with politicians, law enforcement, and to change perceptions, we handwrote thousands of letters. I joined the Young Liberals of Canada, not because I was an ardent supporter of that party, but rather they were the only federal party who had shown any sympathy for the plight of gays and the things that I believed in.
When homosexuality was decriminalized in 1969, Pierre Elliott Trudeau phoned Ted and said to let him know that the legislation had passed.
In 1969, when homosexuality was decriminalized, Prime Minister Trudeau personally called me. I answered the phone, and I didn't have a secretary in those days, so I had to answer the phone. But he didn't. He warned me who was on the phone. So I answered the phone and was greeted as Your Majesty. And I responded, "Good evening, Mr. Prime Minister," just as the Queen of England would do, because I just thought that was a queenly thing to do. It was a moment that I cherish to this day. Whoever thought that a man in a dress would be greeted in such a way by the Prime Minister of Canada?
We had homosexuality decriminalized in 1969, but we still, even to this day, there are members of our community that experience persecution because they're different, not for any other reason that they don't fit into an archaic box of normal, whatever that is. And so I think that the meaning for our community is recognition of government-sanctioned wrongs in the past, but it's also an acknowledgement from our government to say, look, we were wrong. And what we did was wrong, and as a part of Trudeau's apology, he's saying, you know, we were wrong, we acknowledge we were wrong, we're sorry, but we want to make sure it doesn't happen again. And that's really important because there are marginalized segments of our community that still are struggling for recognition, and I think that this helps to recognize the marginalized groups. It's like there will be people in the community who will say, "Oh, we got our apology, we're good," and because that will provide healing for them or closure. But we can't rest on our laurels. We have to still work for those people who are experiencing issues. Rights can be taken away just as easily as they can be given, and you know, when you say that, people think, well, no, it's enshrined in law or whatever. But we have proven moments throughout history, and some very recent, where members of our community, the LGBTQ plus community, that have had their rights taken away.
For Outlook TV, this is Angus Pratt in Davie Village in Vancouver.
Do you have a dirty little secret, Robert?
Rebecca, I might.
Ooh, do tell.
Well, in this next segment, I did an interview for the lovely show Dirty Little Secrets in Vancouver.
Dirty Little Secrets, eh? I'm here at XY in Vancouver, and I'm about to witness Dirty Little Secrets, an improv show with a twist. It's an opportunity for audience members to come and unfurl their secrets in front of a live audience doing improv. I'm about to interview one of the producers of the show and learn what this show is all about, where it started, and where it's going.
Oh my God, you know what?
How do you
Well, the trick is that we pee on each other constantly.
Dirty Little Secrets is an incredible improv show that incorporates audience secrets as the suggestions for the scenes and stories we tell. And it was originally started in the Village in New York City by Dan Doomshaw and Stephen Sheffer. And Steve is still running it in New York. And Dan brought it here, and we started it up under DJS, and it's been an incredible experience.
I've been having phone sex with someone I met online playing Scrabble. He's a Scottish man living in Portugal with his wife, Smiley Face.
How do you integrate secrets into Dirty Little Secrets?
So when you come to the door, you pay or you show your ticket and you give a secret. Has to be truthful, has to be about you. Doesn't have to be dirty, can be like a cooking secret or a fashion or beauty secret. Can be any secret you wouldn't normally tell anybody. They all write it down. It gets anonymously kept by our Doctor of Secrets, who sometimes shifts but is normally Jonathan Squires. And then at the beginning of every scene, instead of yelling or asking for suggestions from the crowd, we use those as the scene inspirations.
I yelled the name of my ex mid-sex with my current partner.
The evolving of the show has been organic and beautiful in every single one of its inceptions, and every place that does it, it's now going to operate in 5 countries actually. So really, we just wanted to give everyone in this city an opportunity to air their dirty laundry for everybody and then watch some magical theater happen because of something they would almost never talk about.
Only feeling my way around by the sense of vibration. And I see that through these straws.
What's been one of your favorite secrets that you've come across that you've been able to bring to the stage?
One woman told me that her secret was, my 2-year-old yesterday used my butt plug on her forehead and called herself a unicorn. And I was like, more of this, come every show. Please tell us all of these secrets, because it just makes for magical, whimsical improv.
Sex with me is like marrying a cousin. It's good down south.
Dirty Little Secrets brings to the queer community an aspect of them being able to share secrets they would never normally be able to share. And to access more people, we also employ and cast queer people as a part of our show, because actually all of the showrunners are queer as well.
Sex with me is like a coffee. It's better when it happens in a Starbucks.
I'm Robert Mackay, reporting for Outlook TV here at XY. And if you want to see a little twist on the regular improv, come to see the Dirty Little Secrets show. Thank you very much.
Unfortunately, that is all the time we have for this episode of Outlook TV, but you know we'll be back again next month.
And for the rest of the month, you can follow us on social media. That's right, Facebook, Twitter, Insta, whatever you want, we'll be there. And if you want to volunteer with us, shoot us an email at OutlookTV.
Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Rebecca Wyvett.
And I'm Robert Mackay. Stay fabulous, Canada.